Okay, we're back. Sorry I started without you on this frame stuff, but if you guys weren't so goddamn slow, I wouldn't have to wait around for you. But this is where we're at. I got front suspension started, got the lower A arms on. They're not tightened up or anything. One thing I came up with that I didn't like that they had in their directions is that on this front lower control arm mount, it has a bolt that goes through the front bracket down through the pinch weld on the frame, and then they say just put these nylock nuts on. To me, I think they missed a good opportunity here for a little bit of strength. Yeah, you got a nice big meaty support up here, but you're going through two little thin pieces of metal that aren't even actually welded, spot welded together right there. If they are, it might be one spot weld, so that's kind of weak. And most of these frames, they aren't even welded along the edge, which is something that I did. It gave it a little bit more strength, but normally it wouldn't be. So my solution to this was, this is the stock piece that the stock control arms are mounted to. Bolt goes through the frame and then goes into this. You know, with the thickness of this, it's almost a 1/2 inch thick. They were planning on seeing some good torque right here where these bolts on the lower cross shaft are mounted. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna put this right on top of the frame where it's supposed to go, and then I went and got me some longer bolts. And what I'll do, come on, get out there. Grade 8, obviously, of course. Drop down through, gives me more distance, and it still doesn't hit anything. I'll put this in place, possibly put a little tiny bit of Loctite on it, and when this is in, then I'll go ahead and run the nylock washer on. I will torque it to specs with just a 1/2 inch, make sure it's there, and then I'll put the nylock on top of it and torque it down. Might be a little bit overkill, but I think it's still better than what they're doing. Moving on towards the back of the frame, we started getting the rear suspension on. This is that rear center support that I was talking about. That's attached to the sombrero mounts. If you can picture it, your pumpkin here would turn upside down, and the top of it bolts right here. And then the front pinion support comes up here, bolts with a little rubber bushing to isolate stuff. Can't put it in right now, or I could, but I'm not gonna, because you have to flip it upside down to put it in. And then when you do that, the vent leaks out all the fluids. Don't want that, so I'll probably wait till I flip it over. Instead of the main rubber supports that were stock, there is a rubber support bolted inside on these. Give you a little bit of vibration isolation, but then that upper wafer that's right here has a step recess in it, and it goes inside the large journal, and that keeps you from moving too much, having much play. We got our trailing arms in, and our shim packs are in. And what I did on this It says use the old shim packs to get your dimensions. And what they mean by that is on your original trailing arm, these packs, there was one on the inside, one pack on the outside. When you take them off, you separate them and you keep track so you know what your thickness is. And then you use your new shim packs and you imitate them and you put them on the same side as what the old came off of. When I did this, they were still pretty loose. So after that, I found out how much extra I needed to take up the slack. And then I just divided that in half and used half of whatever that distance was. One half on one side, one half on the other. And that got me to where I felt pretty good. These cross bolts on the front of this trailing arm, it is pivoted, so when your rear axle's in motion going up and down, that will actually let this control arm twist a little bit, so it keeps your geometry more correct than if that axle point was just no adjustment except for rubber on it. And so that's about as far as I am. What I'm stuck on right now, and boy, goddamn, ain't that boy pretty. I know that's why all the girls watch this video. Alright, what I'm stuck on now is the fact that the stock stuff that I took off, they give you these instructions. Whoop. This is the spindle, which is attached obviously to your hub, your lug bolting flange. It says make you a little tool with a nut that's this thread so that you can go all the way down and bolt up against, or run your nut down and have it up against here and weld a piece of pipe or something on it, if you don't want to spend the 75 bucks to buy a real one, which I did. And they say put that on there, bang it about 10 or 12 times with the hammer, and this spindle will pop out and you'll be good to go. Take the stuff apart, clean it up. I beat on this crap for literally a half a day with a 2-pound hammer and a sledgehammer. After the 2-pound won't do nothing, and I can't get them apart. So that's where I'm stuck at right now. I have to get this assembly apart so it can come up here and go to its little home right here. That's the aftermarket trailing arm. See all the lacing. I don't know exactly why they did that. I guess it's kind of like a bridge. It's wider, and all the strut looking type things are just some kind of bracing that helps it get stronger but be lighter. And that's what this is. This was the stock trailing arm, so you can see it's pretty thin here, not too meaty back there. These 4 studs are what hold this assembly in place. So you can, this front bushing is what I'm talking about for on the front. These are rubber mounted bushings. They do have a little bit of twist for when the suspension was articulating. The new ones are more of a spherical bearing, and that gives you a lot more ease of flex. Things won't bind up, but as you can see, that is that wide. This, you know, quite a bit wider down here. It's not quite 1/4 inch still, maybe 3/16, maybe a little bit more. but got a lot of strength. So I'm gonna see what I can get done today. Just got done with the work week, and we'll start playing on this a little bit. Okay, another day. I didn't get very far yesterday. Didn't get too far today either, but it's only part of the way through the day. What we got today, what threw me for a loop, was these bolts right here for the upper control arm. I looked on my pictures, my videos, and everything, trying to find out what the hell I did with them. I usually put stuff in a baggie. Oh, these ones disappeared for some reason. So I had to go buy some new ones, and they'll work. I just got short ones in there right now just so I could put stuff together. So we do have the upper control arm on. We got the spindle on. Turning very well. Got the steering arm on. Let's see, we got our steering stops in place. Coilovers are on. They're set up pretty decent. On the back, didn't get nowhere. As you can see, it looks the same. Reason being, over here, this little some B right there, as you can tell, I tried to beat the shit out of it for about another hour. I can't get them to budge. It says 10 to 12 whacks. Well, actually it says like 5 whacks with a hammer and it'll pop out. This one ain't popping out. So I can't do anything on the rear suspension until I can get this apart. So that's it for this time. Right now. So next we'll be going to the steering linkage itself on the front suspension. We'll be going from this steering arm, that steering arm, get our steering linkage in. We don't have what we need to hook it to the steering box, but we will be putting the steering box on right there. And we got the steering linkage on. This is the true turn system. It uses your original drag link, original idler arm. It takes more time probably, I think, to clean up the old stuff, get it cleaned up, painted, and refurbed than it does just to bolt the new stuff on. You just don't have to pay the price. That's good. So next step will be we're just out in the garage still, watching the Daytona 500 and continuing on this thing. Right now we got the front steering in, the linkage is all in place, set up, stock drag link, stock idler. There's the Borgeson box, pitman arm, and this little thing right here. I haven't ordered the manual conversion for the hydraulic power steering, and what that consists of, this being the old power steering, you had the lines and stuff come out of the head right here, and then they'd go and run your ram, all that kind of stuff. So all I did is took it apart, put some spacers inside to limit the travel of the pin, and then put it back together without the block, welded a cap on it. All this will be for is so I can steer it to move it around even before it has a motor or anything in it. Just something to use to connect it together with. We got the Ridetech bracket on the Borgeson box. That come out pretty good. Got our cross member in for the tranny, because when we flip it over, we're just going to be setting the motor and the tranny in place, make sure all of our brackets are good and still fitting. Still nothing back here. Next, up here, we're putting in the sway bar. So I'm gonna get busy on that. And this is a little box of goodies. And the sway bar is somewhere, but when I get that in, I'll talk to you again. Okay, Ridetech muscle bars in. Pretty simple install. You got your arms here, your links, which bolt to the bottom of the lower A arms. Your collars, which keep your bar centered. Obviously, your sway bar mounts and bushings. And this is the part where I did all the work to support this up. See the size of the bar. And if this was just a normal U-channeled flip frame tip, it would flex. So that's why I did all that work. But it's there. Front suspension's getting pretty close. Okay, I did get the spindles loaded with the hubs. And I also got the brackets right here for the brake retention kit. It allows you to reuse your stock calipers, and the steering stop that had to be replaced when I put these brackets on. The hubs, that was another story. There was some bearings that did not want to go on the spindle, so I had to take some emery cloth, clean out the center ID of those bearings, and then they finally would slip over the spindle. So that was a little bit of a delay, but we got it done. And we're gonna start trying to put on the rear sway bar. Gotta drill a couple holes. I can get that done while it's sitting upside down. But that's as far as we're at. We're not gonna get to go much farther because these stupid little hubbies right here. And then we can get the pumpkin in. That's about it for now. Well, thanks for hanging with me again for a few days, building a Aladdin, working on the frame at least. Next time we'll probably be flipping the frame upside down and setting the motor and stuff in place. Thanks for checking out Munster's Garage again.